What happened to the last species that challenged humanity? Complete annihilation. Part 1. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as Ambassador Thomas Jensen stood alone before the semicircular array of alien representatives. The massive hall stretched nearly half a kilometer across, its vaulted ceiling adorned with holographic representations of over 3,000 member worlds, towering crystalline beings, amorphous energy entities, and insectoid diplomats all focused their attention on the single human. Species 4291, designation human, you stand accused of genocide, announced High Arbiter Voxtal, his voice reverberating through the chamber. The Arbiter's 7-meter-tall form loomed over the council podium, forearms gesturing to activate the holographic displays around the room. They showed the remains of the once mighty Craxus civilization shattered, planets and derelict space stations now drifting as debris, fields. The evidence suggests your species eliminated an entire spacefaring civilization in less than 30 solar cycles, continued the Arbiter, compound eyes narrowing. This council has existed for 12 million years. We have overseen the rise and fall of countless species, but never have we witnessed such rapid and complete destruction of a level 8 civilization by a species barely 50 years into their interstellar phase. Jensen remained composed, straightening the sleeves of his diplomatic uniform. The blue and gold of Earth's united planets adorned his shoulders. Though he appeared small among the diverse alien representatives, his stance betrayed no fear. I will not deny that humanity ended the Craxus threat, Jensen replied, his voice amplified by the chamber's acoustics. But before you pass judgment, you should understand what preceded our response. The chamber erupted in murmurs as Jensen activated his own holographic display. Species from across the galaxy whispered among themselves, many viewing humans with obvious distrust or outright hostility. 3 Earth years ago, we knew nothing of the Craxus. We were still newcomers to your galactic community, establishing our first colonies beyond our home system. The display showed peaceful human settlements on distant worlds, the agricultural domes of New Eden, the mining operations on Prometheus, the research outposts on the moons of distant gas giants. Then they came without warning or provocation. The hologram shifted to show massive alien warships emerging above Earth colonies. Scenes of destruction followed, civilian centers reduced to ash, millions dead. The Craxus warships, organic-looking vessels that resembled predatory sea creatures, unleashed weapons that dissolved matter at the molecular level. The Craxus believed themselves apex predators with divine right to consume lesser species. They chose humans as their next prey. Jensen's voice remained steady. They miscalculated. A new representative rose, Ambassador Zulthar of the Ancient Myriad Collective. The being's translucent body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that translated into speech. We have observed 200,000 species rise and fall. Every civilization that has faced the Craxus has been eliminated or subjugated. Yet somehow your primitive species not only survived but completely annihilated them.
How is this possible?
Jensen's eyes narrowed. You call us primitive, yet you all fear us. Perhaps today you'll learn why. He gestured toward the Council's central archive. Access your own records. What happened to the last species that challenged humanity? The chamber fell silent once more. We request clarification, said a representative from the Silicon-based Thule Directorate. Your species has no prior record in Council archives before your official recognition 52 cycles ago. Jensen smiled thinly. Perhaps your records are incomplete. High Arbiter Voxtal leaned forward. Explain yourself, human. The Craxus were not the first species to discover Earth, Jensen said. But they were the first in recent memory to attack us openly. The holographic display shifted to show scenes from human history, ancient cave paintings depicting strange visitors, medieval artworks with unexplained aerial phenomena, and more recent evidence of extraterrestrial visitation. For thousands of years, Earth was visited by explorers, researchers, and occasionally hunters. Most observed from a distance. Some interacted peacefully. A few saw us as prey or test subjects. Jensen pulled up new images, archaeological findings that didn't match human development, anomalous technological artifacts found buried in ancient sites. What you're saying contradicts our understanding, said Representative Mokhtal of the Hegemony Worlds. Your planet was classified as pre-contact until 50 years ago. Official contact, yes, Jensen agreed. But unofficial visitors have been coming to Earth for millennia, and not all of them left. The council representatives exchanged uneasy glances. When the Craxus attacked our colonies, they followed a pattern you're all familiar with. Quick strikes, overwhelming force targeting civilian populations to break morale. It's a strategy they've used successfully against 17 other species. Jensen walked slowly around the central platform, making eye contact with various council members. But humans don't respond to fear the way you might expect. When we're threatened, we don't just fight back. We ensure the threat can never return. He brought up new holographic footage. Earth ships, smaller but faster than the Craxus vessels, executing maneuvers that seemed impossible for their size and technology level. Within 6 months, we had reverse-engineered Craxus shield technology and weapon systems. Within a year, we had pushed them back from our colonies. And within 2 years, the display showed human fleets approaching Craxus worlds. But instead of bombarding the planets from orbit as expected, human ships deployed to strategic positions. We offered them peace. Even after they killed millions of our people, we offered them a chance to surrender and join the galactic community properly, under supervision. And they refused, a reptilian counselor stated. Not a question, but a somber recognition. Jensen nodded. They considered our offer an insult. They believed their genetic destiny was to consume or control all other life. They launched a final, desperate attack against Earth itself. The hologram showed the massive Craxus armada, hundreds of ships approaching the Sol system. What happened next has led to your genocide accusation. But consider this. The Craxus had already eliminated 17 species completely. They were on their way to making humanity the 18th. Every diplomatic approach was met with more attacks. Jensen's expression hardened. We didn't just fight back. We sent a message to the galaxy. The final images showed the coordinated human counterattack, not just military strikes but systematic dismantling of Craxus infrastructure, government and military capability. So yes, we eliminated the Craxus threat. And now you're all wondering if we're an even greater threat than they were. Jensen deactivated the holographic display. The council chamber remained silent, countless alien representatives contemplating the implications. High Arbiter Vox Tull finally spoke. This council must deliberate on your testimony, Ambassador Jensen. This session will reconvene after a full planetary rotation. As Jensen was escorted from the chamber, the whispers began anew. The humans had defended themselves. Yes, but the speed and totality of the Craxus destruction suggested capabilities far beyond what a Level 2 civilization should possess. Outside the council chamber, Jensen met with his team. Admiral Helena Torres, head of Earth's Defense Forces, waited with barely contained impatience. How did they respond? She asked quietly. Exactly as expected, Jensen replied. They're afraid, but they don't want to admit it. They've never seen a species advance as quickly as humans. And you didn't tell them everything. Jensen shook his head. That would only escalate the situation. They don't need to know about Project Prometheus yet. Torres frowned. The defense grid is fully operational. If the council decides against us, they won't, Jensen interrupted. They can't afford to make us an enemy. The Craxus were brutal but predictable. We're something the galaxy hasn't seen before. And what's that? Asked Torres. Jensen looked back at the massive doors of the council chamber. A species that learns from its mistakes and everyone else's. What happened to the last species that challenged humanity? Complete Annihilation, Part 2. The first Craxus attack caught humanity completely off guard. The massive alien vessels appeared without warning above New Eden, humanity's most populous colony. Located 20 light-years from Earth, New Eden had been established as humanity's showcase achievement, a testament to human ingenuity and determination. Governor Marcus Davis stood at the viewport of New Eden's administrative tower, staring up at the strange, organic-looking ships that had suddenly appeared in orbit. The vessels resembled enormous manta rays, their surfaces rippling with what appeared to be living tissue rather than metal. "We're receiving a transmission," announced Communications Director Layla Patel, her voice tight with tension. "Unknown language. Translation systems are attempting to decode." The colony's leadership team had gathered in the emergency command center. None of them had expected first contact to happen like this, without warning, without diplomatic preparation. "Any response from Earth?" Davis asked. Communications are being jammed, Patel replied. We can't reach Earth or any other colonies. The room fell silent as a holographic projection appeared in the center of the command table. A creature materialized, vaguely humanoid but with chitinous plating covering its body, 4 upper limbs, and a face dominated by compound eyes and mandible-like mouth parts. The translation system struggled to interpret the harsh, clicking language, but gradually words formed. Attention, lesser life forms. You have been selected for the honor of nourishing the Craxus Dominion. Your biological and technological distinctiveness will strengthen our genetic lineage. Resistance will result in increased suffering before inevitable consumption. Davis stepped forward. This is Governor Marcus Davis of New Eden, representing the United Planets of Earth. We welcome peaceful contact with... The hologram vanished. Moments later, the first impacts shook the colony. They're firing on civilian sectors, shouted Defense Coordinator James Wong. No warning, no targeted strikes, they're hitting residential areas. The view screens showed destruction spreading across New Eden's carefully constructed habitation zones. Molecular disintegration weapons reduced buildings to dust, killing thousands instantly. Activate planetary defenses, ordered Davis, and get me anyone from the military. Sir, our defenses weren't built for this, Wong responded. We have atmospheric fighters and a few orbital platforms, but nothing that can challenge those ships. The attack continued for 3 hours. When it ended, 30% of New Eden's population lay dead, and the colony's infrastructure was in ruins. The Craxus ships departed as suddenly as they had arrived, leaving behind only devastation and a single message broadcast planet-wide. The harvest begins. Prepare to be consumed. Similar attacks struck 5 other human colonies within days. Earth mobilized its meager space fleet, but military analysts gave humanity little chance against an enemy with such technological superiority. At the emergency session of the United Planets Security Council on Earth, Admiral Helena Torres laid out the stark reality. Based on the attack so far, the Craxus possess technology at least 200 years beyond our current capabilities, she reported to the grim-faced council members. Their ships can outrun and outgun anything we have. Their shields can withstand our strongest weapons. If they launch a coordinated attack against Earth itself, we cannot stop them through conventional means. President Omar Reyes leaned forward. What about unconventional means, Admiral? Torres hesitated. Mr. President, there is one option. It's highly classified and ethically problematic. We're facing extinction, Admiral, Reyes said flatly. Ethical concerns may be a luxury we cannot afford. Torres nodded to her aide, who distributed sealed data tablets to the council members. Project Prometheus, she said. For the past 15 years, a classified division of Earth Defense has been studying artifacts, technology not of human origin. Counselor Isabella Martinez looked up sharply. What are you saying, Admiral? I'm saying that Earth has been visited before, Counselor. Many times over thousands of years. Most visitors observed from a distance. Some crashed. A few were captured. The council erupted in shocked exclamations. This is impossible, shouted Counselor Liam Baker. Such information could not have been kept secret. It was kept secret precisely because of how the public and the global community would react, Torres replied calmly. The decision was made by a coalition of nations before the formation of the United Planets. President Reyes raised a hand for silence. Continue, Admiral. Project Prometheus has been reverse engineering alien technology recovered from these incidents. We've made significant progress, but much of it remains theoretical. We haven't had the resources or political will to implement full-scale development. Until now, Reyes said quietly. Yes, sir, until now. The data tablets displayed schematics for weapons, propulsion systems, and defensive technologies far beyond current human capabilities. How quickly can these be implemented? Asked Counselor Amara Okafor. That's the problem, Torres replied. Under normal circumstances, decades. But I believe we can accelerate the process if we commit all available resources and implement Protocol Omega. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. Protocol Omega has never been activated, Martinez noted. It would mean essentially placing Earth under martial law and redirecting 80% of global production to military purposes. It would also mean revealing the existence of extraterrestrial contact to the public, added Baker. Torres stood firm. The alternative is extinction or worse, becoming cattle for the Craxus. President Reyes stood, his decision made. Implement Protocol Omega. And Admiral, you have full authority to utilize any Prometheus technology you deem necessary for our survival. Within days, humanity mobilized on a scale unprecedented in its history. Factories worldwide were converted to produce new weapon systems based on the Prometheus designs. Research facilities worked around the clock to implement alien technology into existing human ships. The public reaction to the revelation of previous alien contact was overshadowed by the immediate Craxus threat. Rather than panic, humanity united with singular purpose. 1 month after the initial attack, the Craxus returned to New Eden, expecting to find a weakened colony ripe for the next phase of harvesting. Instead, they encountered the first of humanity's new defensive systems. The battle lasted less than an hour. 3 Craxus ships were destroyed by weapons they couldn't detect until it was too late. The remaining vessels retreated, clearly shocked by the unexpected resistance. Similar scenarios played out at other colonies as humanity rapidly deployed its new defenses. The Craxus response was to increase the size of their attack forces, but each time they were met with increasingly effective human countermeasures. 6 months into the war, the first new human ships were launched. Based on conventional designs but incorporating Prometheus technology, they were smaller than Craxus vessels but faster and more maneuverable. Their weapons could penetrate Craxus shields, and their own defensive systems could withstand Craxus attacks. Admiral Torres personally led the first major human offensive, targeting a Craxus forward base they had established in a neighboring star system. They've never faced a species that could fight back effectively, Torres told her fleet commanders before the battle. Their tactics rely on overwhelming force against defenseless populations. Today we show them that humanity is neither defenseless nor predictable. The battle was decisive. The human fleet destroyed the Craxus base and all defending ships without a single loss. For the first time, humanity captured intact Craxus technology and, more importantly, Craxus survivors. The prisoners revealed crucial information. The Craxus had indeed encountered and destroyed many species before, considering it their evolutionary right to consume lesser life forms. They viewed technological development as proof of genetic superiority, and their entire society was built around the concept of predation as virtue. Most significantly, the Craxus had never before encountered a species that advanced so rapidly in response to their attacks. Their strategy had always been the same: strike quickly, destroy resistance, then methodically harvest the remaining population and resources. They had no contingency for a prey species that suddenly developed comparable technology. As humanity pushed the Craxus back from human space, Ambassador Thomas Jensen was dispatched to the Galactic Council, a body humanity had only recently learned existed. His mission: to alert the wider galactic community to the Craxus threat and establish humanity's place among the stars. What he discovered shocked even the most prepared human analysts. The Council had known about the Craxus for thousands of years. They had documented the destruction of 17 species, yet had taken no action to stop them. Non-interference is our highest principle, explained High Arbiter Vox Toll during an initial private meeting. Species must rise or fall based on their own capabilities. What happened to the last species that challenged humanity? Complete annihilation. Part 3 deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. In a facility that officially didn't exist, Dr. Eliza Wainwright stared at the alien artifact suspended. In the center of Laboratory 7, the object, roughly 2 meters in diameter and shaped like an elongated teardrop, gently rotated within its containment field, its surface rippling with patterns of light that seemed to respond to human presence. "We're calling it the Rosetta Key," Wainwright explained to Admiral Torres and the small group of government officials who had the clearance to enter this section of Project Prometheus. "It's not just technology, it's a repository of knowledge." "Knowledge from whom?" President Reyes asked, his eyes fixed on the strange object. "We believe it belonged to a species that called themselves the Archivists," Wainwright replied. "Based on our analysis, they visited Earth approximately 30,000 years ago. Unlike other visitors, they seem to have a specific purpose: to observe and record information about developing species across the galaxy." "And you believe this key can help us against the Craxus?" Torres asked skeptically. Wainwright nodded. For years, we've been trying to access the information stored within. We made progress, but it was slow, incremental. Then 3 months ago, after the Craxus attacks began, something changed. She gestured to her assistant, who activated a holographic display showing data patterns. The artifact began responding differently to our attempts to interface with it, almost as if it recognized the threat. You're suggesting this thing is sentient? Reyes asked. Not exactly. More like a highly advanced AI with very specific protocols. We believe it was programmed to remain dormant until certain conditions were met. Specifically, until humanity faced an existential threat from a predatory spacefaring species. Torres stepped closer to the artifact. And now it's decided to help us? In a manner of speaking, Wainwright said. It's not providing us with weapons directly. Instead, it's giving us access to scientific principles and technological concepts centuries beyond our current understanding. Principles that we can apply to develop our own defenses. Like what? Reyes pressed. Gravitic manipulation, faster-than-light communications, energy shield harmonics, and perhaps most importantly, Wainwright paused, clearly weighing her words, the ability to access and navigate the neural network that connects all Craxus ships and infrastructure. The room fell silent. Are you saying we can hack their entire civilization? Torres asked finally. Essentially, yes. The Craxus operate as a hive mind of sorts. Their biological neural patterns are directly connected to their technology. It's what gives them such coordinated attack capabilities, but it's also a vulnerability, if you know how to exploit it. Reyes turned to Admiral Torres. How quickly can we implement this? The first applications are already deployed with our new defense systems, Torres replied. That's how we've managed to counter their attacks so effectively. But what Dr. Wainwright is suggesting goes much further. Wainwright nodded. With the complete neural access codes, we could potentially shut down their entire fleet simultaneously. Or more concerning, we could rewrite their neural commands. And meaning what exactly? Asked Defense Secretary Jackson. Meaning we could turn their ships against each other. Or we could send commands directly to their biological systems. Wainwright's voice grew quiet. In theory, we could order their entire species to self-terminate. The ethical implications hung heavy in the air. This goes beyond warfare, Secretary Jackson said slowly. This would be complete species elimination. Genocide by any definition. They've done the same to 17 other species, Torres countered. They intend to do it to us. President Reyes paced the room slowly. I want options that fall short of complete annihilation. We defend ourselves, yes. We ensure they can never threaten Earth or any human colony again. But I want solutions that don't require us to exterminate an entire species. Sir, with respect, Torres began. The Craxus don't recognize the concept of surrender. Their entire culture is built around consuming lesser species. They won't stop unless they're forced to stop. Then we force them, Reyes replied firmly. But we give them a choice first. The strategy that emerged was multi-pronged. First, humanity would demonstrate its new capabilities by neutralizing the next major Craxus attack force without destroying it. Then Ambassador Jensen would deliver an ultimatum through the Galactic Council. Cease all aggression against human worlds or face consequences. 2 weeks later, a Craxus battle group entered the Tau Ceti system, home to the human research colony of Prometheus. Waiting for them was the newly commissioned UES Defender, the first human vessel fully incorporating the technology derived from the Rosetta Key. Commander Rachel Park stood on the bridge of the Defender, watching as the Craxus ships approached. Though her vessel was just 1/5 the size of the Craxus command ship, she felt no fear. All systems ready. Commander, reported her tactical officer. Begin transmission on all frequencies, Park ordered. The message was simple. Craxus vessels, this is your only warning. Withdraw immediately or be neutralized. The Craxus response came. Quickly, a barrage of weapons fired directed at the Defender, shields holding at 100%, reported the defensive systems officer. No damage. They're launching secondary attack craft, said the tactical officer. Implement Phase 1, Park ordered calmly. From the Defender, a pulse of invisible energy expanded outward. When it reached the Craxus vessels, every system aboard their ships simply stopped functioning. Weapons powered down, engines cut out. Life support systems continued operating, but nothing else. Neural interface established, reported the science officer. We have complete control of all 7 Craxus vessels. Park opened a channel to the now helpless Craxus ships. Your vessels are under our control. This is a demonstration of human capability, not an attempt at destruction. We will allow your ships to power up sufficiently for life support and communications only. Transmit our message to your leadership. For the first time in known history, the Craxus were forced to listen. The message reached the Craxus homeworld, a planet called Vex Thor in the Antares system. The Dominion overlords, having never experienced defeat, responded with rage rather than caution. They assembled their Grand Armada, over 300 warships, and set course for Earth itself. Intelligence about the approaching Armada reached Earth through both human long-range sensors and, surprisingly, through a discreet communication from a Galactic Council observer. In the war room beneath the United Planets headquarters, Admiral Torres laid out the situation. They're committing everything they have to this attack, she told President Reyes and the Security Council. Their entire species is essentially betting on this single assault. Can we stop them? Asked Councilor Martinez. Yes, Torres replied without hesitation. The question is no longer if we can defend ourselves, but how we choose to do so. She activated a holographic display showing 3 strategic options. Option 1. We use the neural interface to disable their fleet, as we did at Tau Ceti. We then board their vessels and take the Craxus into custody. 300 ships worth of hostile aliens? Secretary Jackson asked skeptically. Where would we even put them? Exactly, Torres nodded. And the Craxus would resist to the death. This would result in massive casualties on both sides. Option 2, she continued. We use the neural interface to force their fleet to return to Craxus space, then implement a quarantine. We establish a perimeter of automated defense platforms that prevent any Craxus ship from leaving their territory. Containing an entire species indefinitely? Councillor Okafor shook her head. The resources required would be astronomical, and the ethical implications of permanent imprisonment. Which brings us to option 3, Torres said quietly. We use the neural interface to its full capacity. We send a command that disrupts their neural networks permanently. It would be instantaneous. They wouldn't suffer. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Genocide, President Reyes said finally. That's what you're proposing. I'm presenting all options, Mr. President, Torres replied. The Craxus have made their choice clear. They will never stop coming for us, or for any other species they consider prey. Reyes stood and walked to the window overlooking the rebuilt Washington skyline. The city had been devastated during the climate wars 80 years earlier and had risen again as a symbol of human resilience. There must be another way, he said. What about the Galactic Council? Could they intervene? Ambassador Jensen, who had returned from the council temporarily, shook his head. They've made it clear they will not get involved. In fact, many council species are watching specifically to see how we handle this. Our response will define humanity's place in the galactic community. Reyes turned back to the group. What about a demonstration? Something that proves our capability but stops short of extinction? Dr. Wainwright, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. There might be a way. The neural network that connects the Craxus has nodes, critical points where information processing is concentrated. Their homeworld hosts the primary node. If we targeted just that node with a specific disruption pattern, we could essentially reset their civilization. Sure, what happened to the last species that challenged humanity? Complete Annihilation. Part 4, the Galactic Council emergency session stretched into its 3rd day. Representatives from over 2,000 spacefaring civilizations debated furiously about the unprecedented situation they now faced. At the center of the controversy stood humanity, a species that had leaped from planetary civilization to major galactic power in less than 3 years. Ambassador Jensen sat calmly at the human delegation station, observing the proceedings with diplomatic neutrality. Beside him, Admiral Torres watched the alien representatives with a more tactical eye, noting which species seemed hostile, which seemed curious, and which seemed outright terrified. The humans have violated the natural order, bellowed Representative Mokhtal of the hegemony. No species should advance this rapidly. It defies evolutionary principles and threatens the stability of the entire galactic community. Yet they showed restraint, countered Zulthar of the Myriad Collective, bioluminescent patterns flashing rapidly across its translucent form. They could have exterminated the Craxus entirely. Instead, they chose to neutralize the threat while preserving life. High Arbiter Voxtool raised all four of his limbs for silence. We must consider the evidence before us. The Craxus consumed 17 species before encountering humanity. Now they have been reduced to a planetary civilization without spaceflight capability. The question before this council is not what happened, but how it happened, and what it means for our community. The Arbiter turned toward Jensen. Ambassador, your testimony states that humanity developed its advanced capabilities by studying artifacts left by previous visitors to Earth. Yet the speed of your advancement suggests something more. Our analysis indicates technology beyond even level 9 civilizations. Jensen stood. High Arbiter, humanity has always been adaptable. Throughout our history, we have faced extinction-level threats and survived by innovating. The Craxus simply represented a new type of threat. This council has existed for 12 million years, Voxtool replied. We have observed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Never have we witnessed a species advance from planetary to post-singularity technology in less than 3 years without outside assistance. Jensen smiled slightly. Perhaps your observations have been incomplete. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Explain yourself, demanded Voxtool. Earth has been visited by extraterrestrial civilizations. For thousands of years, Jensen said. Most came in peace. Some came to observe. A few came with hostile intent. Each encounter left behind traces, technology, knowledge, genetic markers. He activated a holographic display showing human, historical artifacts alongside recovered alien technology. Humanity didn't just study these remnants, we integrated them. It's in our nature to learn, to adapt, to incorporate useful elements regardless of origin. When the Craxus threatened us with extinction, we didn't just develop new weapons, we evolved as a species. The council chamber erupted in shocked exclamations as Jensen's words were translated across thousands of neural links. You speak of directed evolution, said Representative Thule of the Silicon-based Directorate. Such practices are forbidden by galactic law. We had no knowledge of galactic law until after we defended ourselves, Jensen replied calmly. And we faced a species that had already exterminated 17 others, with the full knowledge of this council, which chose not to intervene. Accusations and counter-arguments flew across the chamber for hours. Meanwhile, in orbit above the council homeworld, the human diplomatic vessel Emissary maintained position alongside ships from hundreds of other species. On the bridge of the Emissary, Captain Michael Okonkwo received a priority transmission from Earth. Captain, our long-range sensors have detected unusual activity in the Sigma Draconis system, reported Defense Command. Multiple unidentified vessels approaching the Craxus homeworld. Okonkwo frowned. The Craxus should be contained. They have no functional spacecraft. These aren't Craxus vessels, replied the transmission. Preliminary analysis suggests they match signatures from the hegemony fleet. The same hegemony whose representative is currently condemning us in the council? Okonkwo asked. The very same. We're monitoring the situation, but given the diplomatic sensitivity, Okonkwo understood immediately. Acknowledged. We'll maintain our current position and alert our delegation discreetly. In the council chamber, Admiral Torres received the message on her secure tablet. She leaned over to Jensen and whispered the information. Jensen showed no reaction but waited for an appropriate moment to request speaking privileges again. Honored representatives, he began when recognized. While we debate humanity's actions against the Craxus threat, it appears some council members have taken a different approach to the situation. He activated a new holographic display showing the hegemony vessels approaching Vexithor, the Craxus homeworld. Our sensors indicate a hegemony battle fleet is currently entering orbit around the Craxus homeworld. Perhaps Representative Mokhtal could explain their purpose there. The massive hegemony representative rose to his full 3-meter height, mandibles clicking in what translated as indignation. The Craxus possess technology that threatens the stability of the sector. With their neural network disabled, their knowledge and resources are vulnerable. The hegemony merely seeks to secure these assets before they can fall into less responsible hands. You mean to plunder a defenseless civilization? Jensen replied flatly. We mean to ensure galactic security, Mokhtal countered. Something your species knows nothing about given your reckless actions. High Arbiter Voxtool intervened. This council has not authorized any action regarding the Craxus homeworld. The non-interference principle that prevented this council from stopping the Craxus from destroying 17 species should apply equally now, Jensen pointed out. Or does it only apply when convenient? The debate intensified, but aboard the emissary, Captain Okonkwo received new information. The hegemony vessels have begun planetary bombardment of Vex Thor, reported his tactical officer. They're targeting population centers. Okonkwo immediately relayed this to Admiral Torres, who showed the message to Jensen mid-debate. Jensen interrupted the proceedings. High Arbiter, the hegemony fleet has begun attacking Craxus civilian populations. They are finishing what we chose not to do, committing genocide against a now defenseless species. The council chamber fell into chaos as the holographic displays confirmed Jensen's statement. Massive energy weapons fired from the hegemony vessels, devastating the Craxus cities below. This is a direct violation of council law, declared Zulthar. The hegemony acts to protect us all, Moktal insisted. The humans merely delayed the inevitable. The Craxus cannot be allowed to recover and threaten the galaxy again. High Arbiter Voxtol turned to Jensen. What is humanity's position on this development? Jensen exchanged glances with Torres before responding. Humanity opposed the extinction of the Craxus when we had the power to cause it. Our position has not changed. We would ask the Council to intervene and stop this genocide. The Council does not intervene in species conflicts, Voxtol stated, repeating the ancient policy. Then humanity will, Jensen replied simply. Before anyone could respond, Captain Okonkwo's voice came through the chamber's communication system. This is Captain Okonkwo of the UES emissary to all hegemony vessels. Cease your attack on the Craxus homeworld immediately or face intervention. The hegemony representatives erupted in outrage. You dare threaten us? Moktal bellowed. The hegemony controls 300 star systems. Our fleet outnumbers yours 1,000 to 1. Jensen remained calm. Numbers aren't everything, representative. The Craxus discovered that truth too late. On the holographic display, the emissary, a vessel less than 1/4 the size of the smallest hegemony warship, broke orbit and accelerated toward the Sigma Draconis system at impossible speed. What is happening? Demanded Voxtol. No ship can achieve such velocity. Admiral Torres spoke for the first time in the council session. Another technology we adapted, we call it the Einstein-Rosen drive. It allows us to create temporary wormholes for near-instantaneous travel between points in space. The council watched in stunned silence as the emissary emerged. In the Sigma Draconis system less than 3 minutes later, the human vessel took position between the hegemony fleet and the Craxus homeworld. Final warning, transmitted Captain Okonkwo. Withdraw your vessels or we will be forced to neutralize them. The hegemony flagship responded by firing its main weapon, a particle beam capable of destroying small moons. The energy struck the emissary directly. When the blinding light faded, the human vessel remained intact, its shields showing no sign of strain. As you wish, Okonkwo transmitted. From the emissary, a series of small drones deployed, each no larger than a human hand. They accelerated toward the hegemony vessels at incredible speed. What are those? Asked a council member. Neural disruptors, Torres explained. Similar to what we used on the Craxus, but targeted specifically to hegemony technology. The drones reached the hegemony fleet. One by one, the massive warships lost power, their weapons and propulsion systems going offline instantly. Within 5 minutes, the entire hegemony attack force, 27 capital ships, drifted powerless above Vex Thor. What happened to the last species that challenged humanity? Complete annihilation. Part 5, the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council had never been so full. Representatives from all 2,157 member civilizations crowded the massive chamber, with thousands more observing remotely. The judgment of humanity was about to be rendered. 5 years had passed since the Craxus conflict. 5 years of humanity expanding its presence beyond the solar system, establishing colonies and diplomatic outposts across 50 star systems. 5 years of careful observation by the Council as they tried to understand the anomaly that was the human species. Ambassador Thomas Jensen stood alone in the center of the judgment circle. Behind him sat Admiral Torres, President Reyes, and a small delegation from Earth. Facing them were the 9 high arbiters representing the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. High Arbiter Vox Tool activated the formal proceedings, his voice carrying throughout the vast chamber. This council has deliberated extensively on the matter of Species 4291. Designation human. The evidence has been reviewed, testimony has been heard, and observations have been conducted. Today we render judgment. The chamber fell silent. Even species that communicated through light patterns or electromagnetic pulses stilled their emissions out of respect for the gravity of the moment. Humanity has demonstrated technological advancement at a rate unprecedented in 12 million years of council records, Voxtol continued. They have neutralized 2 aggressive spacefaring civilizations without causing extinction. They have expanded their territory at a measured pace and established diplomatic relations with 27 council members. He paused, compound eyes focusing on Jensen. The question before this council is not just what humanity has done, but what humanity is, and what they may become. The holographic displays around the chamber activated, showing scenes from human history, cave paintings, ancient monuments, medieval warfare, industrial revolution, world wars, space exploration, and finally, the defeat of the Craxus. This species has evolved on a planet with unusually high biodiversity and environmental challenges, noted High Arbiter Zhen of the collective consciousness, her telepathic voice resonating directly in the minds of all present. They have survived multiple extinction-level events through adaptation and innovation. They have warred among themselves continuously, yet have also demonstrated remarkable cooperation when faced with external threats. They have integrated technology from at least 7 different extraterrestrial sources. Added High Arbiter Krell of the Elder Worlds, his ancient reptilian features barely moving as he spoke, yet they have maintained their distinct cultural and biological identity. They are borrowers, adapters, improvers, but they remain fundamentally human. Jensen remained silent, allowing the council to continue their assessment. This was the moment humanity would learn its place in the galactic order. The hegemony still demands reparations for the neutralization of their fleet, rumbled High Arbiter Grok of the Steel Dominion. They claim humanity violated sovereignty and interfered in matters beyond their jurisdiction. The hegemony was committing genocide against a defenseless species, countered High Arbiter Lyra of the Stellar Republic. Humanity's intervention, while technically outside council protocols, prevented a greater violation of our principles. The debate continued among the High Arbiters, with arguments about precedent, protocols, and the potential dangers of humanity's rapid advancement. Finally, Voxtol raised all 4 hands for silence. Ambassador Jensen, this council has questions before rendering final judgment. Jensen stepped forward. I will answer to the best of my ability, High Arbiter. First, we must understand humanity's intentions. Your species now possesses technology that could threaten any civilization in this galaxy, including those that have existed for millions of years. What assurance can you offer that humanity will not become a greater threat than the Craxus? Jensen considered his response carefully. High Arbiter, I could offer diplomatic promises or treaties, but I believe actions speak more clearly than words. When humanity had the power to exterminate the Craxus, a species that had destroyed 17 others and attacked us without provocation, we chose restraint. When the hegemony attempted to finish what the Craxus started, we intervened to prevent genocide. These choices reflect our values more accurately than any promise I could make today. Voxtool's compound eyes blinked in the gesture his species used to indicate acknowledgement. Second question. Your species has integrated technology from various extraterrestrial sources. Do you acknowledge that this represents an artificial acceleration of your development that violates the natural evolutionary order? Jensen smiled slightly. With respect, High Arbiter, I would question the concept of a natural evolutionary order in this context. Is it natural for spacefaring civilizations to visit developing worlds? Is it natural for those visitors to leave behind technology, whether intentionally or by accident? And is it not natural for an intelligent species to study, understand, and adapt what they find? He gestured to the diverse representatives around the chamber. Every species here has been influenced by contact with others. Some developed in isolation until reaching spaceflight. Others, like humanity, experienced visitors during their development. The path differs, but the destination is the same, joining the galactic community. Murmurs spread through the chamber as translation systems conveyed Jensen's words. Final question, Voxtool said. The Rosetta Key artifact that accelerated your defensive capabilities against the Craxus. Our analysis suggests it contains knowledge from the Archivists, a species that vanished 8 million years ago. How did this artifact come to be on Earth, and why did it activate specifically for humans? Jensen glanced at Admiral Torres, who gave a subtle nod. High Arbiter, we believe the Archivists didn't vanish, they evolved. They were researchers and preservationists who studied thousands of developing species across the galaxy. Over millions of years, they seeded various worlds with knowledge, repositories calibrated to activate when a species faced existential threats beyond their technological capacity to address. Are you suggesting the Archivists interfered directly in evolutionary development? Asked High Arbiter Krell, clearly disturbed by the implication. Not interference, insurance, Jensen replied. They recognized that predatory spacefaring species could eliminate promising civilizations before they had the chance to develop naturally. The Rosetta Key didn't give us weapons, it gave us understanding. The application of that understanding was entirely human. Voxtool conferred briefly with the other High Arbiters before continuing. Ambassador Jensen, this council has one final inquiry before rendering judgment. If humanity is accepted as a full council member with all associated privileges and responsibilities, what role do you envision for your species in the galactic community? Jensen took a moment to look around the chamber, making eye contact with representatives from dozens of different species. For 12 million years, this council has observed the galaxy without intervention. You have documented the rise and fall of countless civilizations. You have recorded the extinction of species at the hands of others. You have maintained what you call the natural order. He straightened his shoulders. Humanity envisions a different approach. We believe that with power comes responsibility. We believe that observation without action, when that action could prevent extinction, is a form of complicity. We believe that every sentient species deserves the chance to develop, to grow, to join this community, even those that make mistakes along the way. Jensen gestured to the holographic displays still showing scenes from human history. Look at our history. We have made terrible mistakes. We have warred against ourselves. We have damaged our own planet. We have committed atrocities in the name of ideology, religion, resources, and fear. But we have also created art that captures the beauty of existence. We have developed medicine that alleviates suffering. We have sacrificed for ideals larger than ourselves. He paused. If accepted into this council, humanity would advocate for a more active role in protecting developing civilizations from predatory species like the Craxus. We would share defensive technology with worlds at risk of extinction. We would offer our perspective as a species that nearly destroyed itself multiple times yet found a path forward. The chamber remained silent as Jensen's words were translated across thousands of neural links. And, if this council rejects your application? Asked Voxtool finally. Jensen's expression remained neutral. Then humanity will continue its own path. We will form alliances with like-minded species. We will defend those who cannot defend themselves. We will share knowledge with those willing to use it responsibly. We would prefer to work within the existing galactic framework. But we will not abandon our principles to do so. The implied message was clear. Humanity would follow its own moral compass regardless of the Council's decision. High Arbiter. Voxtool called for the final deliberation. The 9 arbiters retreated to their private chamber, leaving the assembly to wait in tense silence. Admir,